Some interesting news from an SHR executive and some rumors from Corey LaJoie talking about Kyle Busch's future options, his potential landing spot, if you will. And Corey LaJoie sounds confident that Kyle Busch is not returning to Joe Gibbs Racing, so let's talk about it. So, of course, the story for months. We've talked about it on here, and everyone has been talking about it in the NASCAR world. And the more the time goes on, the more the tension builds, the more questions get asked. Where's Kyle Busch going to be in 2023? Well, there's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of rumors. There's reports. There's speculation from everyone outside of the industry, within the industry. So let's talk about some of those things. Of course, one of those options or one of those rumored, reported places is Stewart Haas Racing. And today, Greg Zipadelli, he addressed some of the, or not the rumor itself, but he talked about the future of two of his cars. Zipadelli's the competition director at SHR, and he was talking about the Xfinity team a bit, some of the options there, but then he mentioned the 41 car. Of course, the current assumption, rumors, and reports are that Aric Almirola is not going to retire. He's going to stay in the 10 car, so that means if Kyle Busch were to go to SHR, he would go to the 41. Well, here's what Zipadelli said. He said, in regards to Cole Custer staying with Stewart Haas Racing, he said, right now, I believe that's what our plan is. Yes, we're just looking and trying to sort out the 10 car at this particular time. So, of course, he's basically confirming or saying, as of now, that Cole Custer is going to stay in the number 41 car. Custer has been in that car since 2020, got his first career win at Kentucky that year with a last lap pass. Other than that, it's been pretty disappointing for Custer. He's not made the playoffs this season or last season. Of course, he still can make the playoffs if he gets a win at Watkins Glen or Daytona, but that's the only way he can get in. He's, 24th, 25th in points right now. He's been having a pretty poor season, only a couple of top 10s, whereas his teammates have wins, top 10s, top 5s. So Custer's been disappointing for sure, but keeping him in that car, is that really the thing they want to do? It seems like SHR does want to do that, according to Zipadelli. There's no word on the exact contract, how long he's going to be in that car, but he is talking as if Cole Custer is going to be in the 41 next year, but he is talking as if the 10 is still open. So the 10 car, Aric Almirola, will he unretire before retiring? Will he stay in that car? We've already seen one guy from Tampa say he's retiring and end up not retiring. That was Tom Brady. So Aric Almirola can follow Tom Brady's suit if he wants to. But anyways, if Almirola decides to retire, I would think that Kyle Busch would be the top priority for SHR. Obviously, you want the top-notch driver in your car. Kyle Busch is a top-notch driver, two-time Cup Series champion, 60 career wins. I mean, there's no other option really right now other than Kyle Busch if you want the best of the best in the Cup Series. And, of course, if things don't work out, you can't get Almirola to stay in the 10 car. Kyle Busch opts to stay with Joe Gibbs Racing, choose another team. Then you could always go, look at Ryan Preece. He's currently a development driver, a reserve driver. I can't remember the exact terminology for SHR. So he could be the potential third option, I guess. But it seems like right now, SHR, what they're looking at is Custer stays in the 41. The 10 is still being figured out. So to everyone who is saying Kyle Busch is going to the 41, Aric Almirola is for sure unretiring and staying in the 10. It does not sound so certain that way. It sounds like, from SHR themselves, Cole Custer will stay in the 41 just for a little bit longer. Of course, things can change. Negotiations can change. If Kyle Busch really wants to go to SHR, Aric Almirola truly wants to stay in the 10 car, then maybe they could find a way. But it sounds like as of today, August 17th, that Cole Custer is staying in the 41. As for the other big news regarding Kyle Busch, Corey LaJoie, current driver of the number 7 car, Spire Motorsports in the Cup Series, of course, almost got his first career win at Atlanta a few weeks ago. But he has his own podcast that's produced by NASCAR, I believe. Stacking Pennies, he has a couple other guys within the NASCAR industry on there. And they were talking about the race at Richmond and the whole Ty Gibbs, Kyle Busch kind of thing on track. And Corey LaJoie sounded very confident that Kyle Busch is not returning to Joe Gibbs Racing. Here is a little bit of that segment.
Well, he's not driving that car next year, so I guess he can do what he wants to with it.
You don't know that yet, but he also finished in top 10 day.
Kyle Busch isn't driving the 18 car next year. Not happening. It's not happening somewhere. Hearing some rumors, there are certainly offers on the table. Some potential Chevy team, 2 potential Chevy teams, a potential Ford team, and there's also an option potentially with Toyota. But I think we're going to see our little buddy in the 18, guys. That's just what it is.
So, there's a lot to digest there. First of all, he was very confident. The tone of his voice, everything he said, he basically was like, it's as if he was in those. He knows Kyle Busch. Like, Kyle Busch told him directly, like, I'm not returning to Joe Gibbs Racing. So, Corey LaJoie is very confident that Kyle Busch is not returning to Joe Gibbs Racing. Obviously, I would say right now, it's, the way contract negotiations have gone, the more the talks have gone and the more that time passes, it's more in favor that he is leaving. He said like 3 weeks ago that he was willing to take a pay cut. And you would think after he said that something would get done if he was truly willing to take a pay cut and Joe Gibbs Racing was willing to say, oh, okay, yeah, sure, we can work with that. Let's get this deal done now. It seems like that there's something else going on. We talked about last week or 2 weeks ago how Kyle Busch and Joe Gibbs Racing have reportedly stopped talking in terms of the contract. So if that's true, then I guess Kyle Busch really is gone. Like, he's out of there. He's not willing to do anything more with those discussions, or Joe Gibbs, someone in that discussion group, is not willing to talk. He sounded very confident Kyle Busch is out, and then he said something like our little friend or little buddy Ty Gibbs, something like that, is going to be in the 18. No real surprise there. If Kyle Busch leaves, Ty Gibbs is getting the 18. I don't think that's really a question, but of course the question is, where would Kyle Busch go? A couple weeks ago when we talked about the Door Bumper Clear podcast with some NASCAR insiders, some of the spotters who are in the garage, all that kind of stuff, they know people. They had said that the current contention for Kyle Busch was obviously JGR, a Ford team, and a Chevy team that were all in contention. And we kind of speculated. We talked about Colleague, we talked about SHR, and of course JGR. Well, LaJoie, as you just heard, he is saying that there is some different options in terms of those. The only thing that stayed consistent was there's one Ford team, and I'm assuming that is SHR. SHR, the 10 car, right now is what I would say. The 10 car is open for Kyle Busch right now. That's what they're going to look for. So, potential looking at that, the 10 car for the Ford. As for the other two options, we have some pretty big heavy hitting, if it's true, heavy hitting news in terms of the Kyle Busch negotiations. Let's talk about the Chevy thing first, actually. Chevy apparently now has 2 teams talking to Kyle Busch. We talked about how Chevy had entered the chats just a few weeks ago, but now it seems that it's not just one Chevy team, it's multiple Chevy teams. So which 2 teams could those be? We talked about Colleague Racing. They used to be they still are an Xfinity Series team. They're a top-tier Xfinity Series team. They've won a lot of races. They've been in the championship for a few times. Now they have moved over to the Cup Series side of things. They had a part-time schedule last year. They won a race with A.J. Allmendinger at the Indianapolis Road Course. This year they have 2 full-time cars. One of them is fielded, the number 31 car, Justin Haley. He runs a full-time schedule. He's Cup points, going for the playoffs. He still has to win. He has to win a race to make the playoffs. And the other car is a part-time driver, but it is still a full-time car that is split between A.J. Allmendinger, Daniel Hemrick, and Noah Gragson. So those are the 3 guys that split the time in that car. So, that's what they do currently in the Cup Series, and people have talked about them as a potential option. And I've said, that's definitely an option for Kyle Busch, but the thing is, I think Kyle Busch still wants to win now. Like, he's getting somewhat close to the end of his career. He discussed kind of his future plans with his son and his truck team, splitting a ride with his son Brexton for a few years there, or near the end of his career in 8 to 9 years. So that's about the timeline of Kyle Busch's career. But Colleague, is that really the answer for winning now? Yeah, they've won a Cup race. Yeah, they've showed competitive speed at road courses and super speedways, but as for everywhere else, it's still a question mark. They're still a young team. There's too many question marks, in my opinion, that Kyle Busch would go there. As for the other Chevy options, so I think that is definitely one. I think they are potentially talking to Kyle Busch. A lot of people are talking about Colleague. They could be talking. That doesn't mean that anything's getting done, though. So I think Colleague is number 1. But as for number 2, this is where it gets interesting. RCR, I don't think is an option. Our Richard Childress is supposedly still like furious that Tyler Reddick is leaving RCR, even though he gave him like a ton of time notice. But like apparently he wants him gone. Like he wants Reddick out, which is kind of weird. Like Tyler Reddick is literally the guy who's made you more competitive in the last couple of years than any of your drivers in the past 8 years. Like Kevin Harvick was your last guy to have multiple wins in a season. So Richard Childress, you might want to keep him while you can. Anyways, the point being, the reason I don't see that happening is, maybe it's just a small little thing. It's such a small thing. It's just that Richard Childress, that one time, it was a long time. That one time he punched Kyle Busch in the face, reportedly. It's just that one little punch in the face that I think, you can have contract tensions. You can work for a team and tensions rise and you break up. That happens in racing. But when you physically punch a guy in the face, I think that just kind of, it's difficult to get over that. If someone punched me in the face and 10 years from now wanted me to work for them, I don't think that would be too easy for me. So I just really don't see RCR working out. I just don't see that as an option. As for the next option, I also don't see this as a likely option. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are throwing things out there and trying to make it stick. I don't think Kyle Busch is going back to Hendrick Motorsports. People on social media are saying Kyle Busch should go back to Hendrick and, Hendrick buy Alex Bowman out of his contract. I just don't see that. It's more likely than the RCR thing, I think, because, it was not the prettiest breakup between Kyle Busch and Hendrick 15 years ago, but you still have to buy a driver out of his contract, which would kind of get ugly. Bowman's got the sponsorship with Ally, and he's winning races. I mean, him and Kyle Busch have the same amount of wins this year. He had more wins than Kyle Busch last year, so Bowman's doing a solid job. Sure, he needs to pick up the consistency, but he's winning races. That's what he gets paid to do, win races, and he is doing just that. I don't get why people want Alex Bowman out of the car. Like, I just genuinely do not understand that. He is a good driver. He can win races. He has, 6, 7 career wins in the span of 3 years? He's a decent driver. He's a good driver. So, I don't get why people want him out and Kyle Busch replacing him, especially with Kyle Busch's career kind of trajectory. Kyle Busch is near the end of his career. Bowman is still young. And Kyle Busch has not exactly been lighting it up the past few years. Sure, he's gotten himself a few wins. He only has 1 win this year. He had 2 last year. The year before that, he only had 1, and it was 1 win. And it was a year that could have gone winless. But anyway, he still did get a win. So he only has 4 wins in the last 3 years. Bowman had 4 wins last year. I don't see that happening. So toss RCR out the window. I still don't think Hendrick's an option. Those two I'd say RCR's not happening. Hendrick is a very long shot. That's a very long shot. But the next two are interesting, or the next one is interesting. We talked about how Colleague is an option, and this one I have talked time and time again. Every time we talk about Kyle Busch potentially leaving, I think I mentioned this team because I really think this could happen. There are not any reports right now. There's not any talks, but this is about the closest thing we can get to potentially this happening. Trackhouse Racing. I genuinely think Trackhouse Racing has a shot at Kyle Busch. They have 2 cars right now. Chastain's in one. The other one is Suarez, but he is in a contract year. I think they extend him. He's done a great job this year, and I think he deserves a long-term place. Daniel Suarez deserves that, so I think he's going to get that. But Trackhouse Racing and Kyle Busch could be the combination. I have sold myself on this. I think it could happen. I truly think Trackhouse Racing could sneak up out of nowhere. Everyone's talking about he returns to JGR. He goes to Hendrick. He goes to Colleague. He goes to SHR. I think Trackhouse Racing could sneak up and snatch Kyle Busch from all those teams and potentially get themselves a 3rd car. Obviously, the financial side of things, especially with the price of the charter spiking up to $20 million, that could potentially affect the talks. But Trackhouse Racing, Justin Marks has shown that they are willing to do bold things. They bought Chip Ganassi Racing when they needed 2 charters. They didn't buy charters. They bought a whole-blown team. And then in only their second year, last year was their first year. This year is their second year in the Cup Series. They have 3 wins, and they have a championship contender in Ross Chastain. This is going to open up Kyle Busch's eyeballs. I'm telling you, he wants to go win races. He wants to compete for a championship. I don't think he can do that right now at Kaulig. Maybe at SHR, you know, Kevin Harvick's looking strong, but SHR has been a little rocky the past couple years, even though they win a race every once in a while. Trackhouse this year has had consistent speed everywhere. Chastain has a win at a superspeedway. Both drivers have won at road courses. Chastain has shown speed, and Suarez have shown speed at intermediates. Suarez, if he doesn't get in that wreck late, he could have won the 600. Chastain led over 80 laps at Las Vegas. They have looked good almost everywhere this year. So I think that is a very big possibility. It's a championship contending organization. If they can get that 3rd charter, and you know, Pitbull have the funding? Can he put some of his funds into a 3rd charter, or potentially get some sponsors to pay them to get a 3rd charter? They have tons of sponsors. They're announcing a new sponsor, it feels like, every once in a while. They just announced a new sponsor. Princess Cruises is going to be on Daniel Suarez's car this weekend. So they have a lot of sponsorship. They have a variety of sponsorship. They have funding right now, and they are winning. They are a championship contending organization. I really think Trackhouse Racing can make a run at Kyle Busch. I really do. Like, if you were to ask me right now, that honestly might be my bet. I might bet Kyle Busch to Trackhouse. But, yeah, that's all for Chevy. And then Toyota is interesting, because in the thing Corey LaJoie said, he did not say JGR. He's convinced he's out of JGR. But he did say Toyota. He said Toyota. There's only other 2 Toyotas, and one of them is with Team Hesselberg, and it's like not TRD affiliated, you know? Hesselberg, Loris Hesselmans runs a Ford, Daniel Kvyat runs a Toyota. So it's like, also Kyle Busch wouldn't go to Team Hesselberg because they're a part-time team and they're really not competitive. Anyways, 2311 Racing is the other team. Could Kyle Busch go to 2311? Could they get a 3rd charter, or will Kurt Busch retire? That's the question. It would honestly be really sad to see Kurt Busch retire, especially like this. But the fact of the matter is, if his health isn't there, if he doesn't want to race anymore, and Toyota is adamant on keeping Kyle Busch, then he could very well go replace his brother at 2311 Racing. They have shown competitive speed. They have shown race-winning speed. Kyle Busch gets in that car, he's going to win races. He's going to potentially compete for a championship. We saw his brother. His brother's older than him. I don't know how old he is, 42, 43. Kurt Busch won a race this year with him. Kyle Busch gets in that car, who knows? They've shown speed at lots of tracks this year, short tracks or shortish tracks like New Hampshire. They've shown speed at obviously the intermediates, the win at Kansas. They showed speed at Michigan. So they have shown speed on different types of tracks, and, you know, they've shown speed overall, and it is Toyota. And Kyle Busch has said time and time again how he's not only thinking about his Cup driving career, he's thinking about his Truck Series team. He's thinking about everyone at KBM. He's thinking about his son. So there's a lot of factors into Kyle Busch's decision. And if he goes to a Trackhouse, if he goes to SHR, he has to change manufacturers for his truck team. A lot of things have to change, and there's a lot of uncertainty if he changes those manufacturers, whereas if he stays loyal to Toyota, not much will change on the Truck Series side of things for his truck team. The only thing that would change is he would go to 2311 for the driving. So I thought that was a very interesting development. This was a long video, I know. It's a late night video, but I thought I had to make something about it. Tomorrow we're going to talk about Ross Chastain, his championship case. We made Chase Elliott's championship case today. Tomorrow, Ross Chastain. That should be interesting, but I wanted to talk about these developments with the Kyle Busch contract negotiations. If he's for sure gone from, Joe Gibbs Racing, Corey LaJoie sounds pretty confident. It's a very interesting storyline. It's going to be one of the biggest storylines in quite a while outside of racing itself. So it's fun. It's fun to talk about. We'll see how it goes. We'll see where he ends up in 2023. But there's a lot of interesting rumors, speculations, reports from people inside the industry. Obviously, Corey LaJoie, a current Cup driver, I'd say that's a pretty reliable source. I don't know who he talks to. I don't know what he hears. But if these rumors are true, then that's a big bombshell. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like. Subscribe to the channel. We talk about everything NASCAR, everything racing related, F1, that kind of thing. So, yeah. It's been a very interesting few months here with Kyle Busch talks, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see where he ends up, and I'll talk to you tomorrow in the Ross Chastain Championship case.